Welcome to the Mike on the Mic show. I am Mike, as always, here on the mic. We have a good show tonight. We are going to talk about used car buying. Now, I know a lot of you out there are in the market. You're shopping for a car. You don't necessarily want a new one. You're looking for something used, something that's good, something that's reliable. And one of the important things you have to do when you're shopping for a used car is to get it checked out. You want a mechanic to look at it to make sure there's nothing wrong with it or anything that may be problematic for you in the future and cause issues in the car that you purchase. So you want to make sure it's running fine and smoothly and no major issues to be found. So you want to take it to a mechanic. So tonight we have an expert on the line. He specializes in foreign cars. So for those of you looking for the Japanese and the German type cars, Mr. Mike Senn is on the line. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
Great, Mike. I appreciate you joining us today on the show. So why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself. Just tell us about your business, what you do, how you got started. Just kind of go from there.
Yeah, I found early in my life that what would I like to do, and one of those things was I thought, well, what do people need? I see everyone driving cars, so I figured I would get into automotive repair, and took some classes in a college, and then basically got thrust into this when in 1981 I came to this place here where I now work called Wolf's Foreign Car Service and inquired if they were looking for an apprentice. And Wolfgang, the big, tough German guy, said, sure, I'll take you in, and basically taught me how he expects cars to be repaired. And so now I've been here 31 years. He, in the meantime, has retired, so I started the managing of it in 1991 when he retired. And so I've been doing this for a while and enjoy what I do. We have a great group of guys here. They're all a little bit older and have lots of experience. And so we are like a family and get a lot done. We're a very busy shop, mainly with internet, and we've been in business since 1967 when my father-in-law started this all.
Wow, so you've been doing this for 32 years,
actually, yeah,
correct?
32 years, yeah.
Wow, that is quite some time. So that definitely shows that you have a great deal of expertise. If you've been working that long, that's incredible. Especially just finding something that you enjoy so much and just working on these cars and helping people out. And obviously cars are essential for life pretty much anywhere in the country, getting around. So you have to make sure that they're in running condition, and it's great that you have a good team of guys you work with to help out and everything. And it's just great that you're happy in what you do. So why don't we talk a little bit about now people who are looking for a used car, okay, specifically a foreign car, obviously. I know that's what you specialize in. So if someone were looking for a foreign used car, say it'd be a Honda Accord or a Kia Sentra or a Volkswagen, something like that, how would they go about finding a repair shop, most importantly a foreign car repair shop, to kind of look at the car and make sure that it is in good working condition and not going to be a dud when they buy it?
Yeah, there are a few options to find a good place. Depends on where you're at, but one of the ways people find us is on the internet, and there's a website called Yelp, and my wife and I have used that looking for other types of businesses. But they read our reviews, they have maybe talked to someone or a neighbor or a friend, and then they find out, wow, I've heard that name before. So the internet is very strong for us. Word of mouth We don't really do any advertising. But one of the ways to find out is say you're in the parking lot there at the shopping center and you see someone with a car like yours, and you may walk up to them and ask them, hey, where do you get your car repaired? Are you happy with what you're getting there? And, getting the word of mouth and then hearing good news is one way to go. Also, another way is to just go to a place where there's a lot of car places, maybe just do a drive-by, see what they look like, and if they look interesting, then see if you can find out something about them on their website. But word of mouth is always the best, either through friends or something on the internet. And that's what I recommend. We have a lot of people that come from out of state, and they're I ask them, how do they find us? And it's usually on a website like Yelp. There's also some other places. But those are some of the most efficient ways. Or if you're in an area where maybe you have a kind of car that not too many shops work on, maybe a dealership would be a way to go. But usually with the independents, that's where you're going to get, hopefully at least run around and the best service.
Yeah, and being that you're a family-run shop too, that's something I think a lot of people they like and respect.
Yeah.
I mean, sure you can go to a dealer, but it seems, just from my personal experience, that if I go to a local mechanic in my area, I just feel like I get better service and better treatment than sometimes the big car dealerships. But I mean, that can vary obviously from dealership to dealership, but I do think that the family-run shops do, hold up a good reputation because they seem to really care about their customers. And I'm sure a lot of your customers who, if they're looking for a used car or whatnot, I'm sure they probably, once you check them out and it's good to go, then they probably want to come back to and remain customers with you, I assume. Is that pretty much the way it works?
Yeah, we have repeat customers even from the early days, from the 60s, and now their children are coming.
Wow.
So we have families that are, quite spread out and mostly here in the same town, and they all come because one of the things is that if you do something wrong or cheat someone, that news is going to travel a lot faster than the good news.
Oh, yeah.
Always want to be truthful and tell people, and what they like to hear are options. They may not need their brakes right away today. They may still safely be good for 5,000 miles, and people like options. And so, we treat people the way we'd like to be treated. And sometimes if they come in and they've got a car that is maybe just done, and they want to put in a used engine, it's one of those things where you just tell them, you know what, you're better off investing that money into something else, because what if you do all this work and then in 3 months the transmission goes bad? So we give a lot of advice, and people, they want to have the true story, and a lot of times at other places, like, I don't want to point fingers, but a lot of dealerships are there to upsell and maybe sell things like shocks and things that really last forever. And so there's a lot of things that happen with certain kind of cars where people will call me up, hey, Mike, I'm in the market. What kind of car can you suggest? And we'll always, give them some good ideas. Or if they give me a brand in a year, I may tell them right off the bat, well, this is what you can expect with those. Or no, don't even look at those. You look at these kind of cars, and if you find one, let us please look at it first. And there are also things the customer can do, before bringing the car here if they want it checked out. And that's just to do a simple walk around, looking at the body, which is always, if there's an accident, it's very expensive to do it right, and usually a cheesy, body work is very, very noticeable. So a simple walk around, if it's a private car, or if it's a car from a car lot that may not be a dealership or a place like CarMax. And then if you don't see anything obvious like sandpaper marks under the paint or misaligned doors, or probably even worse, a salvage title, we usually tell people to stay away from those. But
yeah.
simple checks, if they check out, then yeah, it'd be a good idea to have a mechanic check them out just to see what everything's about. And a lot of times that doesn't take a long time to find, bad things out and let the customer know right away. Well, this is already happening. Maybe you should choose another car.
Yeah, they don't want to be stuck with a lemon. That's for sure. And definitely, I would probably suggest, just going with at least getting a Carfax as well. Just to make sure that there's no kind of just see the mechanical history if it was in an accident before, and just so all those things that you can be aware of before buying the car and taking it in to get it checked out as well. And definitely something that should be done, I think, with any used car purchase, because it is a big purchase. Of course, cars are not cheap, no matter how new they are or how old they are. It's a lot of money, and you definitely don't want to be throwing it away on something that's not going to be reliable. So it's definitely good to get it checked out, get a Carfax, take it to a mechanic, someone you can trust. And I do think that being that you mentioned just honesty and being upfront with your customers, that really goes a long way, because I feel like a lot of times people will just they'll get extra work done on their car because whoever they took it to will say, oh, well, you need this, and they may not necessarily quote unquote need it like right away, but it's just kind of whoever told them to do that is just trying to kind of upsell them or whatever, just make an extra buck. But I definitely think honesty goes a long way, and people definitely do appreciate that.
And another thing also, when thinking about a car, and say for example if they call me and they ask me, well, what do you think about this? And if it's the kind of a car that I'm not used to seeing, like we really don't do much in the way of domestic cars, rather than say, oh yeah, bring it in, let me look at it, I usually refer them to someone who works on that kind of car, someone that will know, oh man, 100% of those the transmissions fail. So it's always good to get hooked up with someone who really knows that brand of car. All cars
definitely
in theory work the same, but depending on where they're made, they all have a little bit of a twist on how things are done. And so it would be a great idea to speak with someone regarding that potential purchase, on someone that really knows those vehicles. They can tell you and shed light on what you can expect right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you there. Now, since you specifically deal with foreign cars, let's talk a little bit about some of the different makes and models that like you have found to be the most reliable, most dependable. So, for anyone out there who's looking for a used car, like what specific makes and models would you, just based on your knowledge, your history, would you recommend they start looking into?
I always push people towards Toyota, Honda, or if they want a little bit fancier, the Lexus and the Acura models. Also, there's an offshoot from Toyota called Scion, also ridiculously reliable. And so I always push Honda and Toyota or anything made by them. Initially, they will cost more than perhaps, another car that, may be also made in Japan, but there's just a difference. And if you're the type of person who keeps the car for, 8, 10, 15 years, well, then you want to buy a car with, better history or better bones that's going to go the distance, rather than a cheaper car that, it'll be good for 2 or 3 years before it starts leaking oil and having cooling system problems. And there is no perfect car, but in my personal opinion, from what I see every day, anything Honda, anything Toyota is, a great way to go.
Yeah, those are definitely great cars. I've had both cars actually in my past, and they have lasted a very long time. So I definitely agree that they are good, reliable, dependable cars. And they also have better than average resale value, I would say.
Yes, and I also tell people also, they tell me, oh, Mike, what do you think? I should buy a 2-year-old Accord. Well, I tell them, you know what? First, find out what the new one costs, because 2 years, that seems like it's a used car, but sometimes there's not much of a difference in the price.
Mm-hmm.
So you always got to find out, that model. is the current one for sale brand new? Is it the same body style you're looking at? If it is it really worth buying a used car if the savings is, $1,000? If it's a matter of a 2 or 3-year-old car where you save, $7,000 or $8,000, sure, good deal. The car is still going to be like new, but if there's not a lot of depreciation, and like you said, the Hondas and Toyotas are very strong, and so I always recommend, find out, go drive one, see if the seat is comfortable for you, how are the blind spots, and you should always, right off the bat, this car is me, rather than, I think I'll get used to it, because, if you get a car, maybe it doesn't have a peppy enough engine for you, everything has to jive before you make the big commitment. And so, the price is important, but above all, buying something that's a better quality than something else that will go the distance and not let you down.
Yeah, and you'll definitely, like you said, want to take it for a test drive and make sure that it is something you like and something you can see yourself driving for a while. You don't want to just buy something because you heard, my friend said this is a good car, or so-and-so said this is a good car, and then you buy it and then you don't like it. People have different tastes, so it's definitely good to make sure you test drive first, just to make sure that you personally like it and it's a good fit for you, because you're the one who's going to be driving it.
Yep.
Now, what about cars that are, I guess, kind of less reliable or dependable? Are there any specific makes or models that kind of stand out at you that these cars tend to have more issues than like the Hondas and Toyotas?
Yes, and there are quite a few of them. I have to say, right from the beginning here, no car handles and connects you to the road like a German car, but I also have to say no car is going to be as needy as a lot of the German cars. And some of the ones that come to mind are the ones you kind of see all over the place. And, I have to say we really love Audis, Volkswagens, and BMWs.
Those are the cars in the shop a lot, huh?
Yes. I once had a tow truck driver who came by one day tell me that in one day he had towed 10 Volkswagens. And not trying to put down German cars, but they just need more. Oil leaks, coolant leaks, window regulators, check engine lights, even at very young mileage. So, they're great in the beginning, and it's the kind of car where if you just have to have a German car, or mainly European car, then that's the kind of car that would probably be a great idea to get an extended warranty.
Yeah.
Just so you have peace of mind. And a lot of my customers that have those warranties, they get their money's worth, no problem.
Yeah, and those, like the BMWs, Audis, they're not cheap either. So you're definitely paying a premium. And if the car, needs a lot of repairs, is needy, like you say, then that's just gonna continue adding up. The bills are gonna keep piling up. So whereas I guess in case of the Hondas and the Toyotas, and if you want the luxury line with the Lexus or the Acura, I assume those are pretty much up to the same standards as the Hondas and Toyotas, right? Pretty much in the same category. Being that they are.
Yeah, when you do get into Lexus, which in my opinion is one of the best premium cars you can get, they have the leather, they have the wood. They've done a lot of refining as far as soundproofing goes. But yeah, the German cars, like I said, if you got to go that way, or if you possibly in the beginning are not interested in extended warranty, because those can be rather pricey, but they're also negotiable if you put on your poker face and do some dealing. But it's one of those things, if you're not quite sure if you need the extended warranty, you really want to kind of see how your car does if you buy it new through the period where the factory warranty is going to be covering a lot of stuff. And if you find yourself going to the dealer quite a bit, then that's just going to be a sign of things to come. So the extended warranty on that kind of a situation where you see things already in the beginning, then yes, you'd want to get that extension just because it'll really help.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you're going in the regular warranty period and having to go a few times to get something major done, I mean, outside of the regular maintenance and oil changes and whatnot, then that's definitely sounds like a red flag to me.
Another,
So,
pardon me if I interject, but another thing that's
sure.
very key also is that maybe, now I don't hate the manufacturers, I always suggest, before the warranty, the original warranty expires, have a mechanic maybe, 5 or 6 months before it expires, just give the car a look to see if there is anything on the horizon that doesn't just pop up, a week after your warranty expires. So it's a good thing just to get it checked before your freebies are gone.
Yeah, excellent tip right there. Okay, now why don't you tell us a little bit about your process for inspecting a used car that someone was going to buy? Say I said, Mike, okay, I've got a Volkswagen. I'm going to go with the least reliable car you said here.
Yeah.
Let's say I have a Volkswagen and I want you to check it out. What is your process like? What all would you inspect? What would you look for to tell me that, okay, Mike, you should buy this car, or no, Mike, you definitely should not buy this car, and here's why?
The first thing we do is the walk around, just to make sure we don't see anything as far as body work that's been done. Typical and normal things that we see is when the front and rear bumper covers have been touched up or resprayed. That's just a common thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we look for any kind of surface body paint flaws, or if there's a fender that's a different color from the trunk, because that over time will just get worse. So we do the walk around, and everything looks decent there. We then go on a road test with the car, and then what we're looking for there is how the engine sounds, how it runs, also how the transmission shifts, how the brakes work, and of course on a hot day to make sure the air conditioning blows nice. And we just drive the car, and you can pick up on so much just on a road test. Also, sometimes looking for kind of a choppy, bumpy road is a good idea, just to see if there are any suspension-type noises.
Mm-hmm.
Then, when we come back from the road test, we then pull it into the hoist area and lift the car up. And as we're lifting the car up, we also take a look at the bottom of the doors. And we've seen some interesting things that you don't see standing up. So, if you're down on your hands and knees, you may see it, but as the car's coming up, we get a look at the body. And then when it's all the way up, one of the first things we look for are any kind of leaks, either engine, transmission, engine oil, or coolant. And then we get a look to see if, how these tires look, how the brakes look. We check the front end for any kind of extra play. And if everything looks good and the customer happens to be there, we'll come show them, have them walk underneath the car just so they see that everything looks good, or if there's a leak. I had a customer here with a 2011 Audi A4 with about 17,000 miles on it, and he came in for an oil change, and it wasn't, he already bought the car, obviously, but as we had the car up in the air, and we pulled off one of what we call belly pans or encapsulation pans under the engine, they strangely have kind of a little sump or low area that kind of collects oil, so you may not be aware of an oil leak. And when we pull that panel down, and yes, when we do the inspections, we pull those panels down so we can see everything under the engine. And that guy had an oil leak on a car that new, that young. And so we had him come over so we could look at it. He took a picture of it with his cell phone, just so that if he does show up at the deal, they don't say, oh, we don't see anything. Because a lot of people, I can talk to them all day long about cars and this and that, but if they have a visual, that goes a long way.
Sure,
So,
definitely.
Yeah, so just a look underneath, tires, any kind of irregular wear on the tires, and then sometimes you find a car from some sketchy used car lot where they might have 4 different tires on the car. They've been kind of pieced together. So it doesn't take a lot of effort to really tell a lot about a car. And then another key thing is if the seller has a history on the car, any kind of paperwork that indicates, yes, the timing belt was done on time, because there are a lot of things that are, related to service, that if there's, not been covered, well, that's going to be a great expense if someone's gone past on the timing belt and then the seller is selling because they don't want to spend that kind of money. So any kind of a service history is great, a visual, and then also we also hook up a scan tool, because all these modern cars will store codes regarding any kind of faults in all the various systems throughout the car. Mainly what we get is check engine lights, and there you can get any kind of engine faults or transmission faults. And also there's airbag codes. So we scan the car because someone could have, just cleared some kind of fault codes, maybe a couple miles away before they brought it here. But we can also tell that they've been cleared because there's a lot of information in the cars that will be there, and that's what, we find something, we know that someone's maybe trying to mask the fact that this car needs a catalytic converter, which costs tons of money. So asking the car what it sees is also a big thing on our what we call pre-purchase inspection.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a very thorough list of things there that definitely should be checked out for anyone looking to buy a car, because you just never know. You can't really trust that someone says, "Oh, it's a great car, works fine," but like you said, they could have erased the history in there, and they, even if the Carfax comes out clean too, I mean, you still want to go the extra mile, I think, and have a professional look at it and make sure that it definitely is okay, or no, it's not. I mean, as in the case with the Audi you just talked about, I mean, 2 years old and only 17,000 miles. I mean, I assume that's probably still under manufacturer's warranty, but
yes.
Still, just you just never know. You never know what's going to happen with these cars. And I know you mentioned that was one of the more less reliable cars, the Audi there. But I mean, it can happen again to any kind of make or model. You just never know. You want to be sure that everything is working right, and that's why it is highly recommended, I would say, to take it to an expert like yourself or similar place, to wherever you are in the country, just to make sure that everything is in working order. Now, I did have a question actually for you about the leaks. Now, like when you have it hoisted up there, like how do you usually check for leaks? Now, obviously, if something is just dripping down, that's noticeable right away. But I mean, how do you detect leaks that aren't actually just showing, that's not actively leaking, like when you hoist it?
Yeah, one of the obvious things would be, like you said, a leak that's actually causing a little pool as the car is in one place. Those are obvious, and then, depending on the kind of car, like a lot of the BMWs have very common leaks from things called valve cover gaskets, oil filter stands, and there's certain cars where we know, okay, it's leaking, it's going to be 2 or 3 of these things. But other cars, we recently had an Audi here with a V8, and that's a very tight-fitting engine, and there it's kind of tough to see where the leak could be from. And so those are the kind of cars where if it's kind of messy, you can't really see for sure where it's coming from. You can either go by what you know, like things like valve cover gaskets, or have them go to a place that specializes in undercarriage steam cleaning. And that way, then we tell the customer, well, have it cleaned up underneath as good as it gets, and then come back in a week. And by that time, if there's a pretty decent leak, it'll have come back easily. And it's a little bit easier to tell because as the oil comes out, it just goes and follows down that way, then goes that way. So it doesn't necessarily drip from right below the source. So you got to kind of follow the trail. And so, yeah, some oil leaks may not quite be a leak. We would call that a stain, where the oil comes out slowly, attracts dirt, and there's a sludgy spot there. And those are the kind of leaks, like, or basically what, if you call it a leak, but I'd call it a stain. Those are common in any kind of car with decent mileage, and a lot of those stains will probably look that way for another year. So one way to decide if you want to spend the money or not is, hey, do you have a leak under your car wherever you park it? And if you do, yes, it should be looked at. And if you don't have a leak, we see the stain, maybe every time the car comes back for an oil service, well, then we'll look at it again and see if it's gotten any worse. So, no one usually has a car that is absolutely clean and perfect. But there are cars with little things that probably don't need to be fixed until there's evidence, and then you should get it checked and fixed.
Great, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that with us, because I'm sure a lot of people just didn't really know, how they can really tell if they have a leak or not. So that's you provided some excellent information there. Appreciate that. Now, is there anything else you'd like to share? Any other tips for the used car buyers out there when they're looking for a car? You wanna tell them anything else?
Yeah, basically, do your own reconnaissance. If you see the car you like, find out whatever you can on the internet, or if you have a friend that has a car like that, or like I said, bump into someone that has the car that you've been kind of thinking about, just ask them, what do you think about this car? Would you buy this car again? And if they say in a heartbeat no, well, then you probably either met a person who's mad about their car, or no, that's the kind of car where you should just stay away from. But definitely have it inspected. And also, even if things look great and on the up and up, if you work on those kind of cars, you can probably predict what to expect on those cars as far as long-term, or yes, this BMW only has, 40,000 miles on it. You can expect maybe in about, 4 years that you're going to need to do spark plugs at 100,000 miles. So any kind of shedding of light so that people have an idea about, not just in the short term, but down the road. Also, certain cars don't get very good mileage out of tires. And so if it's the kind of car that, goes through tires every 15,000 miles and they're super expensive, well, that's something you should know also. Just a history of what's past or what's happened in the past on the car, and giving the people a history of what is going to happen or may happen. And those are all facts you need to know before you, like you said earlier, it's a big expense, and you want it to be reliable, not just, flashy and good handling.
Definitely, as in case, again, with the Audi.
Yeah.
17,000 miles, 2 years old, and the oil leaks. It just, sure, it's a nice car, looks nice, but, is it going to last you as long as a Honda, Toyota, or a Lexus, or Acura, for example? It just, I don't know. I guess, like you said, do your research online, do your due diligence, and make sure you're fully aware of everything and that there is to know about the car.
Yeah, and one more final point is, if you do go to a used car lot or a dealership in their used car department, many times you don't get to go drive all over the place. I think it's a Volkswagen commercial where they're watching the stars above and the guy pops out through the sunroof. Hey, I think the road test is over now.
Yeah.
But a lot of times a quick road test will not be enough. And if there's a chance that, hey, you know what, that Fiat over there looks pretty good, and they're seeming to be all over the place, well, then maybe you can see if maybe Hertz or Enterprise Rent-A-Car rents those, and then just go drive it for 24 hours, go on the freeway for 3 hours just to see how you feel, after doing a longer drive than you would be allowed at a dealership, just so you know for a fact that everything fits you.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I never really thought about that before, but again, if you are looking for a car that you're going to be keeping for the long haul, you want to make sure that it is something you like, and like you mentioned, the dealership you can't usually take it out for hours at a time. It's just usually a quick 30 minutes or less type deal, so
yes.
You may not get to go all over the place and to the different road hazards and conditions that you'd like to see how the car handles. So, yeah, definitely a great tip there. Okay, Mike, well, that's about all the time we have tonight. I just want to, real quick, if you wanted to share your business name, website, anything, contact information, if anyone is in the area. You're in San Diego?
Yeah, San Diego, California.
Correct.
and the name of the business is Wolf's, WOLF''S, Wolf's Foreign Car Service, and we're here in San Diego in an area called Kearny Mesa, which is very central. And if you'd like to see us on our website, it's Wolf's Foreign Car Service. Very easy to find, and there's a little bit of a history about us and the pictures of our guys here. And and I even have customers who were from San Diego and they moved to another state, and frequently I get calls, "Hey Mike, what do you think about this?" Or what should I do now? And so the customers never seem to go away. They just relocate, and sometimes they still need me from afar.
You gotta love that. That shows how much they appreciate you.
Yes.
So that definitely that means a lot, I'm sure. So yeah, definitely a true expert, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike Senn. Mike, I appreciate you joining us on the call tonight. You gave us a lot of very, very valuable information for anyone looking to buy a foreign used car. Gave us some good recommendations for what some good models, some bad models, things to look out for when you're getting it checked out, things you should do. All very good tips that people need to know and people need to be aware of. So I definitely appreciate you sharing everything with us tonight and joining us on the show.
Thank you very much. And there's one final thing I'd like to interject.
Sure.
In the automotive world, we take these tests by an outfit called ASE. It stands for Automotive Service Excellence.
Mm-hmm.
If you do find a shop that has ASE certified technicians, I've taken those tests. They're rather brutal, meaning if you find a place that has that kind of certification, then you'll be in great hands.
Good tip, good tip. ASE.
Yes.
Okay, and those are usually posted on the door, I guess, at the front door, I assume?
Yeah, and they usually have like a sign that looks like a big blue gear,
Mm-hmm.
transmission type gear, and it'll say ASE, and it'll probably say certified, and it'll also say Automotive Service Excellence. And then for the guys, when we take the test and pass them, we get a certificate and put those on the walls so people know, hey, these guys, they may not know about the testing, but it is a good way, I don't want to say show off, but it's a good way to get the message across that you're, at a good place.
Good information, good information. That's another thing that we should be out on the lookout for, ASE certified. Okay, Mike, well, thanks again for everything you gave to us tonight. I really appreciate it. You're a great guest, and hopefully we can get you back on sometime in the future.
I would love to help. Thank you very much for allowing me to help. Thank you.
All right, Mike, take care, and good luck to you out there.
All right, thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you. Bye.